right, let's get into this. All right. What is up, boppers? We have a very special interview today. Ghosty is with us. Yay.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. Okay, say y'all's names.
I'm Clay.
I'm Nayara.
Nice. So how long have y'all known each other? Because I feel like y'all are like
I was
besties
just
IRL.
thinking about this morning.
You were thinking
Yeah.
about that? Oh.
I don't know. 7 years? As long as you've been here.
Yeah, like 7 or 8 years. We went to school together. We went to music school in Memphis. And
that's how we met.
And I like sat next to him one day and I was like, want to be friends?
Yeah. She just kind of like implanted herself into my life.
I decided in that moment, I was like, actually, we're best friends now.
Yeah.
And now we're here.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years later, so it worked.
So did y'all start making music together right away, or how did Ghosty start?
I think so. I knew Charles before I knew Nayara.
Yeah.
And then Charles and I had made some music together, and then Nayara came to the school. Then I met Nay. Then Nayara and Charles started dating, and so then all three of us started Ghosty together.
Yeah.
And I think it started from the drum instructor at the school.
Yeah, it started as a like band project, and they were doing this thing where like in the years prior you would get like assigned into bands with like random people in the school, and it was just hard because you'd be like put with a bunch of different people with a bunch of different music tastes, a bunch of different like strengths and different things and different like fields, and then like you put them all together and like you try to make something work, and it just never felt like honest,
it never felt
or
good.
genuine.
Yeah.
So they were like starting this new project where they were like, basically, we want you to just take reign. Like you're gonna do all the benchmarks of like putting out a single and recording and like playing live shows, but it's not gonna be like a band class that we're gonna put you in. You get to just do the reign.
It's kind of an out, which is nice.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to do bands class, and I get to make like my own music.
Yeah, with my
cool.
friends,
right,
and like hang out. So it was and that's where Letters to Laurel was actually.
Yeah.
It was a project, and it got graded. And I think I got a good grade on it.
Yeah.
Good. What's the story behind Ghosty, the name?
Oh, so Charles and I, Charles is dead. Charles died.
Charles died
last 2 years ago.
I'm gonna say last Tuesday.
No.
Yeah, like 2 Mays ago.
But Charles and I both wanted to name the band Halloween Town.
Yes.
We were like, I don't think we can because that's going to be a massive cease and desist from Disney.
And I was like, also like, no, I don't want to be that. I was like, I don't want to be known as Halloween.
But we liked like a spooky theme of some kind. Mm-hmm. And then we were just like ghost, but small and like diminutive, like Ghosty. And it was like Ghosty with an IE or with a Y. And I think we just decided on Y.
On Y. But
Capital G.
Capital G, lowercase y.
Of course, it's at the end of the word.
I'm sorry, I'm nervous. But I have like a whole different recollection of that, and I didn't want Halloween Town, but we were on like the like Disney kick, or like I was on that wavelength. And have you seen The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
I've never even heard what you're about to say.
Yes, you have. Like, oh my gosh, this happens every time.
Okay.
The Halloween episode where there's like a ghost in one of the suites. Do you remember that? Where they're all holding hands around the table,
like
and a seance, and Esteban's like getting possessed or like about to get possessed, and he goes, "Ghosty, speak to us." Oh. And that's where I got Ghosty from, and I said Ghosty, but you and Charles have no recollection of that.
Yeah.
So there's a discrepancy.
And now I don't have Charles back yet.
No.
We'll never know.
No.
I love that. I'm gonna remember that for you in case he forgets.
You. I know. Well, it's recorded now.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse now.
Yeah.
Okay. Chat, what do you think?
So Bummer dropped in December.
Yes.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We do too.
We worked really hard on it.
Yeah.
And it's been like 3 years in the making.
Yeah.
So
it's been
felt really good to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
What was the recording process like?
It was like split up. So, because we started the record before Charles had passed away. And so there was a lot of demoing and like recording that we had before that. And then Charles died in the middle of all of it. And we took a long break. And then it was like the second half of like producing the record. I feel like it's like split up in like two, at least in my mind.
Yeah.
Like two different
eras.
Yeah. I don't know.
And we were demoing everything, and I think with the intent of like re-recording things. And then after Charles died, it kind of became like, okay, how much of this can we actually keep? Because it has Charles's fingerprint on it, and it has like so much of his identity in it, and we wanted to maintain all of that. So then it turned into like hybrid demo actual recording. So we recorded all of Nay's vocals, and left all the demo vocals. Then I left like a lot of Charles's bass playing in there. There was like a whole instrumental transition that he wrote, and I kept all of that.
And then Charlie's song.
And then he demoed the vocals for some of the songs that he wrote. And then for one of them, Godless Sky, I was able to keep all of his vocals. And then I just like cleaned them up as best as I could. It like was not a very good recording, but I just really wanted that song to be him singing it. And he did not want to sing that.
It was actually like we not like argued about it, but he had written the song for me to sing. But he like wrote it in his key accidentally. And so I was like, well, you should just sing it. Like, it sounds great on your voice. Like, it's beautiful. Like, it's a too high of a register for me. Like, you should just sing it. And he was like, no, I don't want us to have two singers.
He's like, I hate that thing when bands have like the guy singer and the girl singer.
And I was like,
I thought it was you.
Really?
Yeah.
We do sound very similar.
Yeah.
I found that out when I was recording some of the background vocals on the album. And they would be like, is that Charles singing that? I'm like, no, that's me.
Yeah, you guys sound eerily similar. Yeah. So it's like even hard for me when I'm listening, like, who is that in my ear?
Yeah.
But yeah, he did not want to be the vocalist on it, but I think it just made the most sense. And I don't think it would have even now like had the same impact of if like I were singing it. Like it was his song and he needed to sing it.
Yeah.
So we kind of made that executive decision for him.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
Sorry, man. Shouldn't have died.
Yeah.
That's really interesting though, because Godless Sky is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite.
Yeah. And I also want to take a second because the production level is insane. Is that you?
Yeah.
That's all him.
Okay. Because we just need to take a moment because it's one thing to be a rock band and like produce that really well of like just live instruments, but to put like those little details and stuff, that's why I like Godless Sky so much, is that little all that stuff at the end that you do.
Textures and ear candy. And I've just always been like a maximalist when it comes to production, so
but in the best way. Like it's all very intentional. It's all very like even from the beginning when we did Letters to Laurel, like one of the sounds that you used was so the song was about my best friend at the time, and you took my text tone that I had for her, and like that was put into the song. It's like everything since you started production has been so intentional and it's like just perfect.
Yeah, I think that's why y'all's music resonates so much with me because, well, your voice, it just like grabs me. I feel like I'm on the verge of tears every time. But you guys have such like good chemistry, and I can hear how much you care about the songs that you're writing, producing, whatever, and all of those details. Like, yeah, it's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think it helps that we were just all actually best friends.
Yeah.
And like Ghosty started off as like, we are friends first, and sometimes we like make music. And it was just like something we would do whenever we hung out. And then if we didn't feel like it, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Then we would just hang out.
Yeah. It was also at the time for, I think, like Charles and Clay and myself were like in other projects that at the time were starting to feel like that all or nothing mentality of like, this has to be it. And if this isn't it, like, I don't know. And it started becoming to feel like pressured and like just not fun anymore. Like it wasn't fun anymore. And so we were like, when we do Ghosty, we want to be in the right spirits. We want to feel fun. And it's not about like, if people like it, that's awesome and that's great. Yeah. But like we're just having fun and hanging out and like making music.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten a Paramore reference, because for me, I thought of Hard Times with
I
Bummer.
love that.
Because it's like this really upbeat, catchy kind of sound, but then the lyrics and like the way you deliver it, it's like very sad, nostalgic, like summer at my hometown kind of vibe. So did y'all do that intentionally? Did y'all both have that kind of vibe, or did that come out in the songwriting process?
I think it was more, I don't know.
I think
Well, we definitely, the whole After Laughter album, we listened to that a lot.
Yes,
So
we
I'm sure that influenced us in some
love
way.
that out. I love Haley Williams. I draw so much inspiration from her. Like since I was a little girl, like I would like sit at home and like look up like Haley Williams vocal range and then like practice like every like song so I could like stretch out my vocal range so that I could have the same like vocal range. Like I loved her so much in the way that she performs. Like she always looks like she's having a great time and like she always looks like she's having a blast and delivers everything so beautifully, so I really like her. But sorry, that was a tangent. I just love her. I just love her. But I know
the whole like happy sound set.
Yeah, I know
lyrics.
Charles when writing like when we wrote So Bad and like Memory Foam and even when he was writing Bummer Summer, like he really liked the idea of like mismatching the lyrics and the sound. Of like it's holding like heavier lyrics, but like you're like wanting to like dance. Like that's what he wanted when he wrote So Bad. He was like, I want like a dancey song that's kind of like what the fuck is going on, like, but I'm also like shaking
we're
my
vibing.
ass.
Yeah.
I feel like that makes it more not relatable, but it's almost like you're allowed to be a little more vulnerable when you can cover it up with like a catchy vibe, because sometimes people will overlook it or like not hear what you're actually saying.
Yeah, or just sometimes it's like I think too when we were writing Bummer, we wanted to like capture the feeling of like teenage angst in your like 20s, because it was like that doesn't go away.
Right. That's
like,
kind of what we were all feeling at the time of writing it too.
Yeah.
It's just like things aren't going particularly well for any of us, but I do like pop music and I do want to make some.
Yeah, it's like the whole album we wanted to feel like when you're like sitting around with your friends like drinking or smoking whatever, and like you're all going around talking and you're like, wait, we're all having a really shitty time right now, like what the fuck is going on, but you end up like laugh crying about it and like you're sad but you're also like camaraderie, like it's solidarity.
It's so fucked, it's funny and fun.
Yeah, it's like this is just so like I can't even believe that this is fucking happening right now, but you know, it's like that feeling of just like acceptance, I guess. Just like accepting that this is a really shitty time, but I love the people around me. And
no, that's what it feels like listening to it, and it's like very relatable, like you said. I think my favorites, Godless Sky, Person I Hate. You really got me. You really got me on that one.
So good.
Charles wrote that song actually.
Really?
Yeah, and
but about
I was gonna say, should I do like should we just tea?
Yeah, let's dish.
Just tea. Just dish. Okay, hang on, let me take a hit of my vape. Vape break. But Person I Hate. So Charles actually wrote that song for me in a time where him and I were separated because I was going through some like self-discovery about my queerness, and Charles and I got married very young. I was 21 and he was 23, and we grew up very, very Christian, very conservative, and got married, and we loved each other, and but it was like I was growing up and like coming out of church and like starting to find myself, and then I, as every I feel like queer person that goes through things, ended up falling for my friend at the time, and it started bringing classic you can't escape it, it's gonna happen. And there's a song about it. And when all those feelings started like coming up, I was really terrified and really scared, and Charles, being the perfect angel man that he was like, okay, this is really important, and I think that you need time to like figure this out and discover this for yourself. He's like, I'm still here, like I'm not going anywhere. Like we're gonna figure it out. But it, like, I didn't want to. I was like, I'm just gonna like do you want me to stop talking to her? Like, what do you want? And he was like, no, like I don't want that at all. Like, this is so important. Like, you're finding yourself, and you're like I would never ask you to not. And we separated for that time, but we were still best friends and loved each other very, very much. And he supported me through this as I was like dealing with these feelings. And obviously that all crashed and burned.
Yeah. Well, that feeling ended up becoming heartbreak.
Yeah, that feeling ended up becoming heartbreak. And in the like that again, and for anyone that's like experienced like coming and like telling your friend that you have these feelings for them, and then everything just kind of blowing up. And it was also a very, very complicated story. I was married and separated. It was all very complicated. But I had my first very real heartbreak, and it was very, very painful. And Charles loved me through all of it. And one night I don't know where I was.
I don't understand.
Girl, shut up.
I don't understand either. It's a queer thing, Siri.
You wouldn't get it, Siri.
You wouldn't get it. She's not an ally. But I like came home one day and he's like, I wrote you a song. And I was like, well, he's like, I wrote a song about you and this person. And I was like, okay. And he sat down and he played it for me. And I just sobbed, like sobbing, crying. Because it was essentially like our entire, like everything that I had talked to him about like just feeling regret, feeling like I lost a really like beautiful friendship because of, you know, things that I didn't have control over. And he wrote this really beautiful song for me.
And he wrote it from your perspective.
Yeah.
It felt like he wrote the song that like you were not in a mentally healthy place enough to write.
Yeah. It was like the song I don't even think I could have written that if I had tried. Like, it was just so perfectly captured. And also I think like goes to show about him, and he was such an observant person and such a like I mean, you listen to the song, so it's like it's talking about literally like my feelings about when I was telling her, and then the regret. And I also like when I didn't get the reaction that I thought I was going to get, it hurt, and I said some very hurtful things and regretting that. And so it's like you go into this song thinking it's going to be about hating another person or being so mad, like how could you, blah, blah, blah. But it's like this inner recognition of like, I really let you down, and like I'm sorry about that. Like,
it really felt like a journal entry from like one night that I feel like pretty much everyone has experienced, of like, I'm experiencing rejection right now and I'm gonna lash out. And yeah, I think there are so many moments that we've either experienced or the squirrels, or you know, that other people have, you know, done that to us. And it was such a relatable song because I instantly like would thought of a time that happened to me, or you know what I mean. So I didn't know that someone else had written it because it seemed so personal to you.
Yes, yeah. It is. Like, it's extremely personal. And I think like it just goes like he was my best friend. Like the person it was also such a like, again, just goes to show how beautiful of a human being he was, to like go to your husband essentially and you're crying about somebody else. Like, it felt very wrong. And he was just like, no, like he's like, I'm sorry that you're heartbroken. He's like, but I'm so happy that you felt that. And like, that was the kind of person that he was.
Oh.
He just like understood like life is all of it. It's it's the fullness of like the deepest depths of pain, and then also like bliss.
Yeah. He was we're both gonna cry probably.
Yeah, for sure.
He was such a perfect example of like that life is all about coexisting with pain and joy and beauty and sorrow. And you can't have like two, like it hurt so bad because I loved so much. And he was like, he was like, I'm sorry that you're feeling that, but I'm so happy that like you were feeling those things.
I
For
think
the
that's
very
probably
first
why
time.
the record sounds how it does too, where it's like he was always one to like celebrate through the shit. And like he always kept an upbeat attitude even though things were really bad. So I feel like the sound probably says something about that too.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, he was very, yeah, just a great guy.
Yeah. I didn't know him personally, but I just listening to the EP, it felt like he was with you guys through that. Where I felt like some songs you were talking like, I don't know if this was referencing him, but you were like, I'm talking to you like you're still around and things like that, where you were like mentioning him in reference. And then there are other times where it felt like he was with you like in the present. And I really liked that feeling because I think a lot of people can identify with that nostalgic, like just losing people and continuing life and still being like, you know, I'm glad that we experienced that feeling, but it's still a shitty feeling to go through.
Yeah.
No, 1,000%.
Yeah. That's really encouraging to hear too, because we want people to like, we want the album to show the parts of Charles that so many people didn't get to see. And we had the honor of getting to see that. And I think just like people didn't know what a genius he was. I think that's like the number one thing that drove me to like finish the album and make it as good as possible was it was like people need to know like who Charlie was, or like this part of Charlie that not a lot of people saw.
Yeah. And he was just like you said, just incredibly talented, and like he was like one of those few people I feel like you meet and you're like, oh, like he started playing piano at 3 years old. Like he just lived and breathed music. That's all he was. That's all he wanted to do. And just because he isn't like physically here with us anymore doesn't mean that people don't deserve to hear it, or that people like that we will stop trying to get people to listen to it and hear it. Because also I think what the album and these songs have also become because of him passing away just hold even like another greater, deeper meaning. Like these all were songs that were written when we were in our early 20s, thinking that we were going through the worst time of our life, and then finishing the album after being in the actual worst time of our life.
It turns out it could get worse.
Yeah, it turns out it can get worse. But it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where I'm going.
That's okay.
What's your favorite song?
I feel like it changes all the time, but right now it's actually Bummer Summer, which is funny because Charles thought I hated it.
Yes.
Wait, who's singing on that one? Is that you
That's
or is
Charles.
that Charles? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just an iPhone recording of Charles. So we've been thinking about like doing a fully produced version of that song.
Yeah.
But we wanted to finish the album with something that's like just him.
Yeah, but he wrote that song specifically for the album. And he wrote it. It was one of the last songs he had written before passing away. And it's crazy because he wrote it before dying, and then he died in May, and then that summer, like now when I listen to Bummer Summer, like I just think of that summer.
Yeah.
I just think
even though it was about the previous summer.
Yeah, even though it was written about the previous summer, I think of the summer of all of us, like me, Clay, and our friends. Like we all hung out on my front porch like every single day, and we were having a terrible time. But like I remember like looking around and feeling horrible, but like seeing all my friends and like just going back to what I said like before, like just that solidarity, that camaraderie, we're all having a really hard time right now, but like we're all still here together, like holding hands and loving on each other. Like we don't even have to say words, we don't have to say anything, we can just abide in the shittiness for a little bit until it gets a little lighter.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite. It's your favorite.
Ooh. I don't know. I really like Person I Hate. I feel like the melody, like a part that it just always makes me cry. and like working on it, it was hard because I just cried every time. And then I feel like the guitar parts I was like very intentional about. And Charles kind of wrote like the structure of the guitar, and then I was like, I need to make this as beautiful as the song deserves. So I spent like a lot of time on those guitars. So that kind of feels like my baby a little bit.
Mhm.
And I just like really wanted that song to sound as beautiful as the lyrics are. And it's almost like a Disney melody. Like it's almost so corny that it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So how do you feel like being a part of Ghosty has shaped you as individuals?
Ghosty for me has given me a confidence that I think I had searched for my whole life. Like in a way of like creating something, following through with it, and then hearing it, and then that's a thing that like I made. That's me. And like I think growing up I am a very, I think, like anxious and like very awkward and like socially just like in my head all the time. But like when I'm doing music or when I'm performing, like it's like another alter ego. It's like another person I can become, and I love her. And I love like that Ghosty gives me access to that and gives me a confidence that I yeah, that I have. I love that for me personally.
yeah, I think Ghosty for me is just like connection. That's really it. Like I love music. The music is something I feel like I can always do on my own, and it still brings me joy. Like I have a solo project that I do because sometimes it's fun to make music without anybody else's opinion, or like not not collaborating can be fun. But ultimately music just is connection to me. Like the only reason music exists is to connect with other human beings. And Ghosty's allowed me to connect with like my two favorite human beings on earth. So I think that's how it's impacted me the most. And just like connecting through music is amazing.
The people, like the friends that we've made, and the people that we get to know because we just like to do the same thing, like it's really, really like cool. It's like being like, I don't know. You want to find people that are like minded, and you want to find people that like the same things as you, and then you do, and then you get to just like get to do that thing together sometimes, and or like one of our friends like is touring, and whenever we get to like see him, like I like cry every time, just like being so like happy that we get to do this, and just
Yeah. I feel so lucky to know all the people that I know through music.
Well, what are you excited for this year? It could be for music or outside of music, just.
I'm excited to make more music.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. It'll be like the first things we're writing together without Charles. So I think I'm excited for that. I'm also a little bit scared about it.
Yeah.
We also have like a lot of songs that Charles wrote or like half wrote, and we've been thinking about like finishing those and kind of collaborating with him in that way. I think I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, I'm excited to make more music and play more shows, and that's like I want to play more shows this year, and perform more. um yeah, and
I think we're trying to figure out how to play shows not just in Memphis.
Mhm.
I love playing shows here,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of talent, but we just kind of want to see more, I think, and like meet different people. So we're trying to play like probably more regionally this year, and like play with some friends in Nashville or Arkansas, just surrounding area to play out a little bit more.
Yeah, so excited to do that, and I don't know, just whatever new things come up for us. I don't know.
All right, last question. What is some advice that you would give to somebody who is struggling creatively or wants to create music, doesn't know how to start? What would you tell them?
Just quit, give up. No. I don't know. That's a hard question. I feel like whenever I've dealt with like writer's block or like not feeling inspired, it's so hard to know which way to go of the two ways I feel like there are to go. There's one where it's like, I this isn't making me feel good. I'm not feeling motivated. Maybe I just shouldn't do it. Like maybe I need a break. And then the other way is like, I'm just going to push through this, and sometimes beautiful things come out of that. And it's hard to know which one's the right answer.
Just because I think it's like a gauging where you're at also too. I know for me, like when I feel like uninspired or like I can't write or something, it's really hard to force myself to do it anyway. But I find like even if I'm just writing my thoughts, like just to write or in my notes, like consistently, like something eventually will come up that you're like, oh wait, like am I Shakespeare? Am I like did I just create the best thing ever? Like there's gonna be something that you say to yourself that will inspire you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I think in times where I've struggled to like write something, I also get into this mentality of like everything I have to create has to be the best thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're gonna make a lot of shitty stuff before you like find something that you're like, wait, I'm actually proud of this.
Yeah. So maybe there's the advice. Don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're, as an artist, you are always your biggest critic and you're putting the most pressure on yourself.
Yeah. And everything you make doesn't have to be like the next best thing or like the next hit. Like write and like create something that like just write out your thoughts, and then like you will get something that you feels inspiring to you, and you're like, actually, this feels really good. And then I feel like it's even more. It means so much more, at least to me, when I like write something I really like after a time of like not being able to write. It just makes that song even more like oh my gosh, I did it! Like this is the thing, and it can feel really hard and to like get yourself out of it. But like, I think for me personally, it's just like trying to continue to write or talking to other people, like having conversations with other people, finding things that like make my brain like move.
Yeah. Get inspiration from other things.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be music.
Yeah.
Like watch a weird movie.
Yeah.
Or go for a walk. You know?
Yeah. And write what you want to write and create what you want to create. And like, everyone's always going to have an opinion anyway. Like, no matter what you do, you can write the best song that has ever existed. You can be the number one star in the world, and someone's not going to like your stuff.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because also, which is, I think, also really hard, because I've noticed also a lot of artists have a really hard time with being perceived.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's like remembering that art is meant to be perceived. Like that is what it is. Art is meant to be perceived, and like that's why it's art. Yeah. And people will perceive it in a million different directions, but what it means and what it holds and what it is to you, like that's solid.
Yeah. And that's your responsibility. It's you're not responsible for other people's feelings about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say like don't focus on anything beyond figuring out what your voice is. Mm. Like I started as a guitarist and I thought I needed to be like the next best shredding guitarist. And I did that for way too long, like trying to be that. And that was just never me. And it was never supposed to be me. And it was just like letting go of those expectations or like that desire that I don't know where it was coming from, and just like letting my voice come through in that. It's like I don't need to be the best guitarist. I just need to be a guitarist that sounds like me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that goes for any instrument, for like any skill in music, songwriting, mixing, like production. Just figure out like what you sound like in that context.
I think if it's hard to like find your individuality and find your voice. I think just as a human being every day. And then like even more so when it comes to like being an artist, it's like you like also don't have like you don't have to be the weirdest like you know like whatever like you like who you are, if you are you loud enough, it will drown out everything else. Like if you are so emboldenedly yourself, and it brings you joy, like it's like all the rest will like drown out eventually. And it's hard, and it's really, really hard, but that is the most important person in your craft is you. Like I really truly believe that, and I think it's really hard to maintain that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to make a career off of it. But like at the end of the day, it's you and your thing, and it's gonna be you and your thing. Like when you're sad and alone, it's you and your thing. When you're having a good day, it's you and your thing. At the end of it all, it's gonna be you and your craft. I think it's important to just put yourself first always.
Just like these squirrels.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for coming. It was
so much. It's been so much fun. Sorry if I was weird or awkward.
I know.
Thank God.
Yeah. Stream Bummer. It's on Spotify and Apple Music. Yeah. And follow Ghosty the band. Yes. Is that you on?
Ghosty the band.
Ghosty with a Y, with a lowercase y.
With a lowercase y. All right. Later.